Welcome back, everyone, to Super Good Biz. Michelle here with our newest guest, which I am so excited about. Naama runs and owns Lighthouse, which is a restaurant in Brooklyn. And I'll just hand it over to Naama to tell you a little bit more about the restaurant and her approach to it.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having us, or me rather. Let's see. The story of Lighthouse started, I guess, with my brother and I just working together in the industry in a bunch of different places. We grew up in a loving family where every weekend we would go foraging with our parents for mushrooms or asparagus or mussels. One day out of our school year, or one day out of the week, we would actually work on a farm our entire childhood. So like all of the things that had to do with understanding a healthy food system and having that appreciation were just from the way that we grew up. And then I think just working in restaurants and maybe coming here as immigrants, we grew up in Israel. I realized that I was fortunate to be a white female and my brother a white male, and it was so obvious to me that we had a different fortune, right? That I didn't have to necessarily work in a kitchen at these very low wages, but that I got to bartend or be a cocktail waitress and kind of have a different trajectory, and it bothered me. It bothered me that there was this inequality. So we just didn't want to have that. We just wanted it to feel very, very equal. And my brother, who designed the restaurant, sort of integrated that into the design. So when you walk into Lighthouse, the kitchen isn't even an open kitchen. It's essentially an island, and the bar is open. And so this sort of like the idea that we're all there together, and there isn't a hierarchy. We don't have managers. We all have something, we all have a job that we have to do. So, I mean, it was very, very clear to us what we wanted to have. And I think it sort of comes from this place of wanting to love what we do and wanting everyone that's doing it with us to love what they're doing. And, I always felt like whenever I worked somewhere, people always mistook me for being an owner, or, and I thought, well, this is a representation of who I am, and I'm going to do it because I love being here, because I love this restaurant. I love the people that own it. I love what I do, and I'm representing myself. So why wouldn't I do the best? And we wanted to empower the people that work with us to feel the same, that they didn't need to be micromanaged, that they loved and appreciated us and the job that they're doing, and that they were well compensated for it. And so, a lot of the understanding of how that ends up working in your favor, and what's the sort of financial benefits of that, and how that translate into a bigger system came later. But really, it was we just wanted to have the best life. We wanted to walk into the restaurant and really love all the people that we work with, and be happy and sit down and eat together. It just, why wouldn't you, right? And we have this rule that we always, talk to our purveyors and our salespeople, that we say we only work with people that we like, because why not? This is our microcosm. We want it to be magical. Yeah. And it works. It's really the reward is massive. I mean, 10 years later, I still absolutely love what I do, even after a year that we've had. So
yeah, I mean, it's obvious. Like the passion and the love is definitely obvious. I love how the design of the restaurant is a manifestation of your values, that you don't even have a front of house or back of house. I'm an ex-hostess, tried to be wannabe server, but I was very bad at it. So like, I understand front of house, back of house, but like, you don't even have that. You have the center, an island in the center where, your staff gets to cook and share this experience with your diners. And so that's really cool.
Really thinking about a restaurant as this place that represented all of our values. We wanted our cooks to feel a part of the family, and our dishwasher to feel a part of the family, and the porter. We wanted to feed our guests healthy food, which 10 years ago was almost a, you couldn't even say that. It was like, oh, healthy food, what is that? It's horrible,
Yeah, I
right?
want
So,
more than just lettuce.
exactly, exactly. And we thought, really healthy? We would always say like healthy, and people say, don't use that word. And we were like, why? Don't you want to feel good after you're eating? And, we have this saying at Lighthouse that dinner starts now and it ends when you wake up the next morning. And do you feel nourished? Do you feel good? Do you feel energized? Because it's a part of it. It's, like what we feed you today ends up being your body the next day. And so there were all these different things that really where we wanted to change, we wanted to do differently, we wanted the food to be cooked with love. We very much believe that there's an element of energy in the food. And we had worked for, here and there, a chef that would be like, oh, this is my food and this is how I want it. And if they don't want to have it, and I'm like, no, but it's their body, and they should feel really great about eating it. And there's a human being at the end of that plate. And so we wanted the cooks to feel really loved and happy and appreciated, and to cook in that manner. And we wanted the servers to feel at ease, and we wanted us and them to be eating the same food that our guests ate. Because if you believe in a healthy food system, then it's for everyone. So there are all these different things that sort of fell into place, and a big part of it was really the sustainability aspect of it. Buying food locally, make sure that there's as little waste as possible, and a big part of it that I think still isn't mentioned in the realm of sustainability is also fair wages for the staff, because I feel like a sustainable system is one where everyone gets to participate. And so it's not just about buying from a really high-end farm, and it's not just about making sure you're composting or recycling, but it's also that my cooks in my back of the house can afford to eat in the restaurant that they work in, and that they get to participate in this ecosystem that we are creating essentially. And so with all of these things in mind, we decided to build Lighthouse, and kind of have it be a beacon of light for us and for other people. And that was the guiding light of it all. But when it came down to it, and we opened the restaurant, we sort of realized that there wasn't much infrastructure for sustainability and what we wanted to do, and that this way of thinking wasn't really popular yet. And so kind of the two things we immediately had to do was figure out partnerships and find people that would help us achieve these sustainable goals. And then also find a fun, interesting, inspiring way to talk about it, so that this trend and these ideas that we thought were so incredible also catch on, and that it does become something that people want to support and want to be excited about.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something you said, which was describing Lighthouse as a sustainable restaurant. And maybe, would you consider it a farm to table restaurant?
Definitely.
Okay. So a sustainable farm to table restaurant, but the way in which you define sustainable was very different than how most people define or think of sustainable right now. So you were talking about sustainable when it comes to sourcing food, getting it from local producers and growers. You also talked about it in the form of low waste, and we'll get into the infrastructure you were just mentioning. You also mentioned just ethical wages and care of the staff, and also the sustainability of that work, and the sustainability being an entire ecosystem where this is all feeding into each other. So it's all, and I feel like that's kind of the almost like a better definition of sustainability, where things are fueling each other, and that's what makes it kind of sustainable and last a long time, because it's not dependent or all about like massive growth or getting to one place. It's about fueling each other and allowing things to work together. So I thought that was really interesting, just how you and your brother thought about sustainability, and how it was so holistic in its definition, and the way you wanted to bring that into the restaurant business. How bad is waste in the restaurant business? Like, is it like, I'm just trying to understand that, and like how bad that is, or how impactful the restaurant industry is on our planet and the earth. I mean, it also is Earth Week right now.
Right.
I think Earth Day is in 2 days, which is very timely for this conversation. So yeah, like, what are the impacts of the restaurant industry on the planet?
I mean, they're huge, because think about the household and how much a normal household, how much waste do they create, and then times that 100 or 1,000. So quite a bit. And restaurants that are not properly maintained or run, or a lot of the high-end places that make something for that day, right? And that cost is built into your meal. It's part of the reason why it's so very expensive, because only, you know, the top carrots get selected, and even those are shaven down to a certain degree, and then everything that doesn't get sold that night gets, you know, either given to the staff or thrown out. So I mean, the restaurant industry is traditionally just extremely wasteful. A lot of packaging, a lot of yeah, it's painful.
Yeah, because even what you were just describing was just food waste, like food scraps,
Right.
and what people don't finish eating and all of
Right.
that, in addition to the packaging and everything around, like the objects in the restaurant or that are used, like cloth napkins versus paper napkins, or the cups, the straws, all of the things
Right.
that are
And
involved in dining.
yeah.
What were you going to say?
I'm even, you know, even cleaning supply. Think about how many times a dishwasher in a restaurant is operated, right? It's like dozens of times during the night. It's dumping a lot of potentially like dangerous chemicals into the water. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible that you've been able to figure out how to create a low waste restaurant without a built-in system. Like, you've had to create that system. How hard is it to make a restaurant a low waste restaurant? Like, what was that kind of journey like? And just, tell us a little bit about that, because my first question is, like, why aren't more restaurants doing this? Like, what are the hurdles in place?
It was very difficult, because the way that, near the hauling system or the carting system in New York City got privatized in the 70s. And so it's basically these companies that sort of like assign themselves to restaurants. You basically have someone that sort of appears at your door and says, okay, we're going to be taking care of your garbage. And that's sort of like how that works. And they, pick up your recycled and your other kind of waste. And sometimes you see them going on the same truck, and you'll kind of like raise your question and like, no, we separate it later. And you're like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't really make sense, but you don't have much you can do about it. And so when we realized that was currently the only option that we had, we started looking for partners, essentially, that would that us separating this particular waste would benefit them, and really finding people that would use and upcycle what otherwise would end up in landfill. So I don't know that we are zero waste, but we've really have reduced our waste by at the very least 75%. So a huge amount. And so I believe our first partner was Sure We Can, which at the time was sort of like a canning facility. And it's a space in Bushwick where low income folks and elderly folks bring all these cans and bottles, and they clean them and they package them together according to the brand. And when you are actually sending it in big quantities of the same type, the value goes from 5 cents to 8 cents. And so it provided them of a certain income, because they could sort of like call a truck and say, come pick up this massive thing. And, it actually provides a little bit of income. And then they started a composting facility at Sure We Can. So we would kind of like drive over the cans and the bottles and our organic waste. And so that was kind of like the first partnership. And when the Billion and Oyster Project started, we joined them as well. And they pick up our oyster shells and they clean them, and they put them in these like little cages and they essentially grow oyster larvae in these optimal conditions in these pools. And when the larva is big enough, they introduce them to these shells and they put them in the water as these oyster reefs. And what it does is that it protects the shore from storms, and it also filters the water. So I think one oyster is able to filter up to 50 gallons a day. So by putting these reefs in the water, you're really cleaning the water. And in the I want to say 7 years, or give or take, that they've been around, there is a huge difference in the quality and the clearness of the water, and you can see some creatures. So really doing amazing work. We found an artist that worked with glass that was able to reuse our wine bottles and our liquor bottles. We found someone else that would take our corks from all the bottles. It was the cork upcycle, and then another artist. But I really feel like for this to grow, we really need to systemize it, and that's kind of like our next mission, is how to use Lighthouse as this pilot, and how to really scale this operation so that we all have access to it, and it's not so taxing, and it's not so cumbersome to try and do the sustainable thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I was thinking about how restaurants in New York have this system or grading system for sanitation, right? Like, every restaurant has a grade for how it ranks in terms of sanitary conditions,
Right.
and it's on the front of the door. So I was just thinking, like, as you were talking about systematizing it and making it something that not only all restaurants have access to these resources and all restaurants can do it, but also the people who are dining, the guests and people who want to go out to eat can get more visibility of it too. Like, why doesn't a restaurant sustainability grading system, exist? Like, that would be really interesting to help increase the awareness of how restaurants are operating and how restaurants can operate, like what the expectation is, and even just how you were describing the different practices that you've been putting into place. It's not just composting and recycling, it's upcycling and working with partners for things that can't go into a bin, and being able to get reused and have a new life, like a wine bottle turning into a candle. So I think it's super creative, and it also generates the local economy, being able to donate those things to people like artists, and being able to allow that to take on a new life and fund another person's career and their work. So that's pretty circular. As we were talking.
That's really the idea, is to find to find the entry point for everyone and make sure that it works for them. And I guess one more thing that goes into it is really the building the cost into all of it, so that we all have an opportunity to enjoy it and maintain a healthy planet. A lot of the issues around the environmental situation we're in is because so much of the cost has been externalized. And so, it's the unhealthy and processed food that we're eating. It's the packaging, it's the state of our oceans and the soil. And so kind of like understanding that food and fashion and just about everything has a true cost, and that we should be willing to pay it, so that we don't have these like awful health bills, and so we don't end up with an ocean with more plastic than water, and all of these microplastic in the creatures and whatnot,
including ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I don't know why I'm smiling about that, but yeah.
It took us a long time to be able to talk about being sustainable in the endeavor, because I till this day feel like there's so much work ahead of us, right? I probably, Lighthouse will never be where I want it to be. And so initially when people would say, oh my God, this is amazing, how come we don't know about it? And I was like, well, because we're not there yet. And I've realized that, one, if we wanted to be this inspiring voice in the restaurant world and in the sustainability world, we would have to start talking about it. Also, by talking about it, we would we would find new partners, right? So the conversation also allowed us to grow in that space. And obviously realizing that comparatively to so much of the other things around there, we were so much more sustainable, but it really didn't feel comfortable for a very long time.
Yeah. So like you're doing really well, especially in comparison to the standard in the industry, but yet because you are so aware of the problem and
Right.
all of the details, it's just like there's so much more we can do.
Right.
What is the vision? What is ahead for you?
I think what I would really love to do is take this model that we built and perfect it and scale it and be able to allow so many other restaurants to participate in a much more circular way and give our partners a real stage and a place that would allow them to really transform so much more waste and use renewable energy and really bring a lot more people into this circle. And I guess the other thing is sort of creating a manual for our industry, so that something like that could be replicated easily. Before the pandemic, we had a series of talks at Lighthouse called Light Bulb, and the idea was to bring all these experts that we had met in the field and kind of like propose these challenges in the industry and see how we can potentially solve them in these sessions. And I'm hoping that at the end of this we can kind of like bring back Light Bulb into place and bring these talks in a new format where at the end of it, you kind of like have a spreadsheet, because there are all these different solutions. There's there's a composting machine, and there could be just like a compost area and maybe a waste to water, and all these different technology and other ways to deal with waste and other things, and sort of like to kind of really build a way for different restaurants and places and businesses to figure out what's the right solution for them, whether it's space or cost, or energy or temperature. There's all these different variants. And so how do we put them all together and making sure that all of it is just very transparent and easy to follow and everyone can find the right solution for them? Because it won't be, there won't be one solution that would be right for every environment.
Yeah.
So those are things that really I'm looking forward to developing.
Yeah, the manual sounds super exciting. So here's my last question. As you were talking about like the manual to help restaurants, I immediately think of like, the consumer side, like people who are just dining and guests. So what can they do? Like what is, one thing that they can ask restaurants or one thing that they can do when they go to restaurants to help restaurants either realize that they could be more sustainable or to help start to like create that change in behavior within restaurants and dining?
The way that I think about being influential in the world in general is always voting with my money. And it's part of the reason why it's so important to me to buy from purveyors and farmers that we believe in, that I feel like have the same values that we do. And so I think consumers, just the awareness of going to restaurants that have that ethos, that are transparent, that talk about who they're buying from, that you feel that the staff is well taken care of, is the best way. Because if you're supporting those type of places, they're the ones who are going to be around in the next 5 and 10 years. So just by really kind of like looking into what places you're going to and voting with your money for the good actors in that space. And you can always, if you feel like you're not going to finish your food and you want to bring a little to-go container, that always helps a little bit as well.
I love that. I was going to be like, applause all around. Voting with your money. Bring those retainers, bring those containers from home. Yeah, I love that. This was wonderful. I'm so excited to have this interview up and just talk about like all of the potential opportunities and shifts that could happen in the restaurant industry and hospitality. I'm excited to see it start to happen. And I feel like you're definitely going to be the one helping others figure it out. So
I intend to.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Well, thank you so much. It was so nice meeting you, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Same. Thank you so much. Bye, Michelle.
Bye.